the cyclone element. You got here Wednesday. A couple of players stayed behind because they want to be close to their family. They thought key players. How has this week impacted you and your club? Is it United at the moment before we get into the game?
Yeah, for sure. Look, it's obviously like tricky circumstances for us. You know, we had to do most of our work at the start of the week. You know, knowing especially tactically that we'd have to try and, you know, front end the week, and you know, we made the decision to try and get out of there and so we could still play this game. Obviously, we're a couple of games behind already, so, you know, us falling even further behind in games played isn't ideal. And I think, you know, my players and staff in the end, you know, really banded together, and obviously there's a couple that stayed behind, and with good reason. You know, they've like we all do, we've all got families, and all of our situations are different. And one thing we spoke about was making sure that player welfare and staff welfare inside our four walls was number one. But once we made the decision to take a squad over here nice and early, we came here and we just, you know, went through the mentality of no excuses, embrace the hardships, and make sure that we represent our club and our families well. And especially show that Queensland spirit, Queensland fighting spirit for the ones that are back home that may have suffered. And in the end, I haven't seen too much today on the news, but I don't think it hit as hard as what they first thought. So, which is really, really good to hear.
You had a great opening 15 minutes, hit the post, Adelaide came back, scored. You actually were part of a goal with an assist, I thought, with your quick thinking when you relayed the ball for that quick throw-in, and it worked out. Maybe you should have got those 3 points?
Look, I think it was probably a game of two halves. I know it's an old cliche, but I think, you know, like you say, we started really well and on the front foot, and we wanted to make that first 15-minute block, you know, one where we got ourselves in the game and had a couple of good openings and didn't really execute well in that front third. And then to Adelaide's credit, they kind of took control of the game. We wanted to absorb. We have obviously had a plan for the first half and a plan for the second half. Knowing the heat and, you know, the squad that we have, we wanted to try and absorb some pressure and control the game without the ball in the first half. And for the most part, I think we did that quite well. We frustrated them and limited them to very few opportunities. And to be fair, we're probably only a minute away from having a good first half and keeping a clean sheet. And the young kids, you know, scored the goal of his life and come in on his left foot and put it in the bracket. But I think we should have defended that moment better, if I'm honest, with Keegs and Jay getting across there. We probably shouldn't let him skip past us so easy. So that was disappointing. But then again, we stuck to our guns and our way of playing, and, you know, made a few tactical tweaks. You know, some due to the conditions, but some also due to the personnel that we have on our bench and the assets and the young weapons that we have. So I think the second half then our boys executed really well. You know, showed all the hallmarks of a team that's really together. Very fluid with the ball in the second half, and really took control, which, to be honest, at Cooper Stadium against a really strong Adelaide side, it's not an easy thing to do. So yeah, I'm proud of the performance for the most part.
I was just going to say, Ruben, exactly that. How proud are you? I mean, a number of factors you've already discussed this, you know, leading into this week and leading into the game, but it certainly didn't look like the bottom side against a team playing for a top two finish. How happy are you with the performance?
Wish I had $1 for every time I've heard that this year. We've put in some really good performances this year without getting the result. I mean, it's not the result we wanted today. Make no mistakes, we wanted to win the match, and I think we created some really good openings in the second half and probably should have won it. But we're happy with the point in terms of, you know, we came back in the match and we stuck to the way we want to play and, you know, put in a really good performance. So I'm extremely proud of my players. I've said it week in, week out. We're a very together group. We know the club's in a very difficult period and a difficult circumstance at the moment, but we have, you know, a longer term plan that we have to stick to, and part of that plan is to try and get as many youngsters into our setup as we can, whilst we're in the process of, you know, trying to strengthen our academy. We don't have the luxury that Adelaide has. We don't have an academy that's, you know, fully functioning and been up and running for 5-6 years, and we're at the very start of that process. So obviously financial constraints and resources make it very difficult, and we find ourselves in this position. But one thing I've been very big on is that we won't roll over, and we'll stick true to our beliefs and our principles of what we want to achieve. And you know, points tally wise, not good enough for us this year, but we're staying very true to the process.
You did bring in your striker during the February. Just tell us a bit about him and the way he's fitted in, and if that changes the way you play a bit. Because he certainly got on the ball a lot first half, didn't he, Azuma, and caused quite a...
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think in the window, we, you know, albeit in some January's, the trickiest window, and especially for us, with our hardships financially, obviously we don't have the luxury to just go and spend, and it's not an open checkbook. So, we have to be very astute. I think bringing Nathan Amenatides from Sydney was a good pickup for us. He did really well last week. He was a little bit flat today in the first half, but still a very positive pickup, and he's made a difference for us. I think, obviously having Henry Hall back, he was our leading goal scorer, leading assists, leading goal involvements last year. We lost him again because we had him out on loan, and again that was for financial reasons. So to have him back in the window was a big pickup. It's no coincidence that since he's been back, we've won our first game and had 3 draws and are picking up points more regularly. And then, like you say, Asuma, very, very good player who's very underdone at the moment. He hasn't played as it started a game since end of November, so we're kind of basically putting him through his paces pretty quick. It's nice to see him out there working hard for 75, 80 minutes there in tricky circumstances. Great character, really good pro, and I don't think the league's seen the best of him yet, so there's a bit more growth in there and improvement which we need. And also, the addition in the window of Austin Ludwig, his NPL, Queensland NPL Player of the Year 2 years in a row. For him to step in at 27 years old, like I say, in some pretty tricky circumstances and perform the way he did last week and the way he did today, it's great. It's great. It's a great privilege for me to be able to reward a Queenslander and give him his opportunity at professional level.
So, just a follow-up to that, in financial strictures and constraints, the mother of your invention, really, aren't they? I mean, in some ways, it sort of, forces you to think outside the box.
Yeah, for sure, and we know that we're not. We're trying to embrace the hardships. I've been very big on that at our club, is to try and embrace the hardships together and have a clear plan of how to push through this situation. One thing is to make sure that, first of all, as a manager, that even in tricky circumstances, that I don't change my principles in trying to play football the way we want to play it. I think we've been able to do that. We just haven't been clinical enough in front of goal, to be honest, to take more points in matches. But yeah, the positives today, you look at Jimmy Durrington, another young Queenslander, 18 years old, makes his debut. Jacob Brazette comes off the bench, 18 years old, scores a fantastic goal, and he's had some really good performances this year. Lucas Harrington, 17 years old. I said it on the pitch, I'm a massive fan of Kikianis, and you could see how good of a footballer he was in that under-20s team away with Australia. But then again, I look at Lucas, he's 2 years younger than Kikianis, and for him to be doing what he's doing at his age, at A-League level, he's exceptional and he's a massive talent. We've been able to sell Thomas Waddingham, which again helps. One of our own Queenslanders, scored 13 or 14 goals playing for me in the last 12 months, and then to be able to sell him. So there's a lot of positives and there's a lot of progression, albeit we need to take more points, and that's what we're trying to do.
Ruben, I guess Jacob's goal, I guess if you're watching him for the first time, someone might be a bit surprised by that, but he's actually been threatening to maybe score a goal like that in most of the games that he's played this season. You must be pretty proud that he actually got some reward for that today. For
sure. His performances have been outstanding, to be honest, at times. Probably that last piece of the puzzle is that composure in the front third. It's funny that he put in probably the most difficult one that he's had. But that should give him some confidence, and very much deserved as well. So I'm extremely proud of him, and for him to step up in that moment for the team was great to see. I think there's a lot more to come with him, a lot more growth, and a lot more hard work that he needs to be doing with us on the training pitch. And if his attitude stays the way it is and he continues to grow and wants to learn, I think he's got a very bright future.
And you mentioned Durrington there, only a few minutes, but his A-League debut. I guess what can Raw fans expect from him moving forward?
Jimmy Durrington is he's a top footballer, to be honest, a real technician of the game, a bit of a late bloomer, obviously. He's come through our academy and our program, was exceptional last year at NPL level. And I've kind of been, waiting for the right moment to give him his opportunity. This turned out this week that this was the right game for him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him get more minutes towards the back end of this season, because I'm a firm believer he's got a really good dead ball and great attitude, very much liked in our group. So he's another one with a much higher ceiling than what he's shown so far.
If you look at the script, Ruben, bottom of the table, you have a solid first half, copper goal on the last kicks of the half, the home side that's fighting for top 2, starts really well. You're able to stop that, slow it down, get a point out of it. How proud are you to be able, instead of just, accepting your fate the way you are, that your players were able to fight and get something out of a tough environment like this?
Yeah, extremely proud. We're a really together group. We've got a an eclectic mix at the moment of a lot of young ones, and I mean really young, guys like 17, 18 years old that are kind of, getting thrown in the deep end. But we've also got some exceptional leaders at the club, guys like Jay O'Shea and Henry Hoare and some of those other senior ones that are creating a really good environment. So, look, I'm proud of the environment and I'm proud of, the boys sticking together and putting in a good performance today, but I'm also, slightly disappointed that we didn't go and win the game because we had moments that we should have executed better and should have won the game.
And in the A-League, we see teams can fall to the bottom of the ladder, and sometimes they stick around there because there's no punishment or relegation. You're showing signs of improvement. Tough situation, obviously, with what's happening in Queensland. Really hot today. You get a point against the odds. Do you feel like it's something that can galvanise your team to get some silver linings for this season so you can hit the next season running?
Look, I said it at the start of the year, to be honest, it's going to take a few windows. It's probably sound like a broken record, but this window's helped us. We've made a few additions, lost a few players, made a few additions. I think over the last 5 or 6 weeks, we beat Sydney away, took a point away in Wellington, took a point away at Adelaide, took a point last week at home. So if you look at the last 5 or 6 weeks, we're probably a mid-table team over the last 6 rounds, which shows a lot of progression. And we're going to stick to that. I think in the next window, if we can strengthen, and we need to, there's a lot of movement with contracts at our club. So we feel like we're on track to definitely improve next year. Cheers, thanks.